And we're back.
And we're back.
So.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, you know, when you think about how important connection to other human beings, connection to our family, connection to the land, connection to our spirit is important to African people, it becomes clear why it was so important for Europeans to separate us from those things in order to successfully create you know, a slave, to have slaves and to have slaves who are subjugated. And also not just slaves, because we got to remember our African continental brothers and sisters, how important it was to separate them as well in order to have good colonial subjects.
Sure.
Because we forget that they were colonized, and the colonized experience and the slave experience, sometimes they interface, but they're you know, they're running on parallel tracks. They're very similar. They're not the same, but they're very similar. So, you know, when we think about this is, I love to talk about Haiti because I have so much respect for Haiti and Haitian people. Why? Because they were the first group of African people to snatch their freedom from the hands of Europeans. They did not wait. They did not ask. They did not beg. They said, we're going to, yes.
They fought.
I have deep respect for Haitian people. But what a lot of people don't know about is the fact that during the Haitian Revolution, over 80% of the Haitians who fought in the revolution were born in Africa.
Okay, now.
So, if you are having people from Yoruba land, from Dahomey, from Ghana, from the Congo, from all of these places, and they're African born, what does that tell you about what their spiritual orientation was? Exactly. Because you have to remember, in the Caribbean, people were not under as much duress to leave behind their traditions as we were here in North America. So these were people who had firsthand experiences with African traditions, which is why we see how strong Haiti is with voodoo, whatever you want to call it, not Christian, right, Shauna? So all of our traditions, for the most part, probably with some exception, acknowledges the idea of reincarnation, right? We believe that we reincarnate back into our family lineage, or we reincarnate back into whatever. So just imagine you got all of these Africans on the island of Hispaniola who believe that, hey, kill me. Shit, I don't care. Kill me. I'm just going to come back.
Exactly. I'm
either going to go back to Guinea, which is what which is the symbolic representation of Africa, right? So you kill me, I'm either going back to Africa, or I'm going to come back and I'm going to fight you some more. You cannot conquer a people who has that mentality, because they're not going to stop coming at you, which is exactly what happened in Haiti. They fought for over 10 years. 10 years.
Not 1 day, not 3 months, not 6
months.
No. 10 years.
And they fought against Napoleon. And Napoleon at this time was kicking ass all over Europe. One of the best militaries in the world was mopping the floor with Europe, and he could not stop Africans who believed that they were eternal.
For sure.
And the rest of the Western world, Europe and the white people and the slave owners in North America, they saw Haiti and they started shaking in their boots. They were terrified.
That's true.
And this is why they started with the slave codes, where in North America they disallowed the use of drums, because they knew once we start beating on them drums.
Yep. Yes.
Once we start beating on those drums, and we start carrying our ancestors, and we start carrying our Loa, and we start carrying our Abosun, and we start carrying our Orisha, and they are telling us, go and fight.
Invincible.
You're not going to be able to You're not going to be able to wipe out people like that.
And it was not just in here, it was all over the Caribbean. It was everywhere. It was here in the Americas too, where you were not allowed to do, your practices, because they knew that they didn't understand that. But whatever that was, it had some element of power that would really turn these people into very resilient, individuals that could not be overcome. They could not be overcome.
Let's just think about it
invincible.
Absolutely. Let's think about it in the modern context, right? If people don't want to believe what I'm saying. Think about the people who Westerners call terrorists, right? Mm-hmm. These people, Muslims or whatever you want to call them, who people label terrorists. Some of them, whatever. I don't want to get into whether they are or whether they aren't. But one of the most perplexing things about this group of people that people label terrorists is that they will walk into death willingly.
Literally.
Right?
Literally.
Why?
Great analogy.
They believe that there is a reward for dying in the struggle. And it makes them extremely difficult to fight and conquer because they just don't give a fuck.
They don't give up. They don't give up, and they don't give up.
No.
They don't give up. And it doesn't matter. They're doing it obviously in the most atrocious way, right? A bomb, they explode,
they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. So just imagine how 80 to 90% of Africans in Haiti, African-born people in Haiti, who have this orientation of, I will be my ancestors. If you kill me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to come back and I'm going to fight you again, or I'm going to go home to Africa and, whatever. There's no disincentive. They're going to keep coming. And so they had to make sure they separated us from that way of thinking in order to make us compliant. They had to make us compliant.
Domination. Yes.
And the compliance had to be something planted deep in the conscious and the subconscious. Exactly. that would eventually run on its own like a computer program. It couldn't be that they just had to keep beating us, because beating us wasn't going to work.
Exactly. And killing
us. They had to implant something in our minds to change the way that we think in order to make us compliant to slavery and colonialism.
And it happens through domination. It happens through domination. And that's how also they would separate their babies from their mothers.
Yes.
They would separate the babies from the mothers too. Because if you grab that child from a very early on age, it would be easier to
cut the ties,
them, and to keep them mentally, how they wanted us to think. And this all, because I want to touch on this as well. You already did. I just want to continue elaborating it. For those of you that are coming in new and didn't see the first live, you should probably go see that first, because she already spoke about this, Miss Nzinga. But, the Bible doesn't make any reference about the devil as to how it's portrayed in this day and age. The Bible has never depicted the devil as the horned deity. That comes even I was reading something that what's his name? This preacher, somebody had asked him who the devil was, and he had responded back by saying that the Bible doesn't really exactly show us who the devil is per se, and that this whole notion of the devil being this horned individual with the whatchamacallit, the red suit and the fork, the thingy that it's depicted in a lot of cartoons and a lot of movies. It's just through art, through the imagination of man who portrayed the devil to be this particular way. So therefore, between Hollywood, between movies, between all the things that have been exposed to people through indoctrinate them, to mind wash them into thinking that this is the devil, then we have these people who are very Christian, who are very religious, who are very in other denominations too as well, thinking that because Beyonce shows up, how we see her, that is satanic, that is demon, that is all, because again, everything that has come from Africa has always in all ways been demonized, so it can continue to create the separation, and we can never again go back to our roots, because
That's
that's
it.
really the fear. When you really
Yeah.
think about it, the
Yes.
fear is not about practice. The fear is about people rediscovering their roots, because they know that if people, black people, were to discover and reconnect with their origins, were to reconnect with their roots, again, to reinforce what you had already said, this would become then again the group of people that become invincible, that
Yes.
become, that become one with their divine energy, that recognize their power, that recognize their being, that recognize their essence, and therefore they know that. That's why it's the fear. So
Yes.
therefore, it's easy to say, oh, them crazy people with them drums, they're crazy people doing all that sacrifice. When if you really
Yes.
know the Bible, and if you really know the history of the Bible, including both the white man-made Bible plus the real Bible, which is the Egyptian one, but comes from Egypt, you would know that sacrifice has always been present. Sacrifice was always a way of life, because that's really what it was, to connect with the divine energy. Sacrifice has always been part of it. Jesus, the Jesus was a
Yes.
sacrifice himself, So therefore, anything now that they try to say with anything that's blood related and that's sacrificial, and the any depiction of horns is devil, is Satan, all to again create this mind watch, this
Yes.
creating this push this
Yes.
agenda of
Yes.
demonizing what has
Yes.
always been natural,
Yes.
traditional.
Yes.
Then what's funny to me is that in the Bible, they talk about the three wise men.
Yes.
I want somebody. I want somebody to tell me, somebody who is so hardcore Christian and everything that's African is evil and is demonic. I want someone to tell me, what is it that the three wise men took as gifts?
Frankincense, myrrh, and gold.
Where does that come from?
Africa, Africa, and Africa.
And that's it. True, true. True, and true. But it's earth elements. It's earth
Yes.
elements. They're earth elements. They're
Yes.
earth elements. And
Yes.
and interestingly, for those of you who might need this information, you have a Christian, real hardcore religious individuals that demonize traditional practices, that demon all kinds of, not just African, but even the native Indians or anything that's not a Christian life. They demonize it, right?
Yeah.
They demonize astrology. They demonize all that witchcraft. How did the three wise men find Jesus? Tell me,
Astronomy.
please.
Astronomy. Yeah. They followed
What
the stars.
what led them to Jesus?
Yeah.
If it
And like I
wasn't
said,
if it
and like
wasn't
I said, yeah,
astrology.
and like I said earlier, the reason why they had astronomy was because that information had been passed from Egypt.
Exactly.
You know,
Ashay.
the documentary. So you were asking about the devil and all that stuff. The book, one of the books that I wanted to, not books, documentaries I want people to look at is called "How the Devil Got His Horns" on the BBC. How the Devil Got His Horns on the BBC. And there's also one called the story. It's like BBC, the real story of Satan and Lucifer, or whatever. And it basically is a historiography, meaning like it traces how people told the story and how they created this image, even within Christianity and Judaism. It's not endemic to Christianity and Judaism. This image that we have of the horns and all of that stuff, it's made up by Chris.
It's
Like
made
there's
up.
a,
It's made up.
yeah, it's made
And for
up.
clarifications, because it's
Yeah.
definitely even dumb to say it at this point because it's obvious. But for those of you that are still asking this question in your brain, Baphomet has nothing to do with the image that Beyonce was portraying. Baphomet has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with this particular image.
Right.
Dr. Nzinga has already, they did a great timeline as to what this portrayal of Beyonce's image in this particular picture that I posted, what is associated to, which in my opinion, and yours too, we believe that it's really much more a representation of Heteru, or,
It's
even
just
Oya.
it's representative of the cow. It's
Mm-hmm.
representative of cow culture, which was widespread all across Africa. And so people view the cow as sacred because why? It provides milk, it provides wheat, it can provide transportation, it can help you till your fields. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
the cow is a sacred, it became a sacred symbol in many, many cultures
In many
in
cultures.
in Africa, right?
In
And
many cultures.
so
And it was also money too as well. It
right.
was
And it
money
was a
too
way
as
for
well.
families, right, to hold on to their wealth. So you see in Egypt, Het Heru is just one manifestation of one culture's way of viewing the sacredness of the cow. Like I mentioned earlier, you have the Ntori dancers from Rwanda who have their own way of depicting the sacredness of the cow. If you go and look at Namibian fashion, like fashion from the country of Namibia, the women wear these big head ties that go out like this, and those are representative of the cow. So the cow was something that was
And
sacred.
the Dinka tribes and
The
the Mursi
Dinka
tribes.
and the Nuer and the Mercy, all of these people had sacred conceptions of the cow. So that image of the horns with the disc in the middle, it evokes Het Heru, it evokes the Egyptian manifestation, but the concept of sacred cow is something that existed in many, many cultures all across Africa for
Exactly.
literally for thousands of years.
Exactly. And it's a sign. It's symbolism also, especially in the Dinka, the Mursi. Is a sign of honor. It's a sign of prestige.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
sign of of position, of
Yeah.
honor
It
in
is. It
itself.
is. If you can afford, and even this is the case in Africa today, like if you can afford to give somebody a cow as a gift, that's like a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, because it holds value, it has value. And so being able to exchange cows and use cows for labor and use cows for food, this is something that has been happening in Africa. This is something that has been happening in Africa for thousands of years. It is a very, very old symbol that predates
Abrahamic.
Abrahamic religions. It
Exactly.
predates Abrahamic religions. And
Totally
so
agree.
what one thing that I really I need people to hear and understand is that because there's going to be, like with this whole thing with Beyonce, there's going to be an influx of
Oh,
people who are
of
coming into our
course,
traditions.
of course,
And
of
what I
course.
want people to really think about when they're coming in is how important it is going to be for you to decolonize your thinking. You need to
Ashe.
decolonize your thinking. Please do not come into our traditions with that colonizer bullshit,
Ashe.
because those of us who got here have struggled and fought to pull that crap out of our minds. You know
Ashe.
what I'm saying? We have been fighting to pull ourselves out of our mind, help pull that stuff out of our minds. So please consider.
Especially the African American community. Especially the African American community. Why do I say the African American community? Because I'm, I'm a black man. I'm a black man. Cuban.
Yeah,
Orisha is normal to me because ever since I opened my eyes, that's what I've always seen.
right.
Versus the African American person who grew up in this particular country, who has been told that Jesus is the only way and it's the only thing, and everything outside of Jesus is wrong, when in reality, in their DNA, in their energy, in their
In
vessel,
your
all
blood.
that's
That's right.
written is Africa. All that's
That's
written
right.
is
That's
that's
right.
inside their energetic and spiritual system
But
is
but
Africa.
sadly, it's not just African Americans. It's black people all over the
Yeah, black people
diaspora.
all over the world.
You know why? Because the programming took place amongst all of us.
All of us,
It's
yes.
just that some of us were able to hold on to pieces that helped us remain not crazy.
Exactly, exactly.
But you got to think about the colonial experience in Africa too. Because
Ashe.
like I said, one of my parents is African, and I got people who are like, this is devil worship, and they will go hard at you for it.
Mm-hmm,
And they
mm-hmm.
were born and raised on the continent.
because we got Islam too, who has
Yes.
taken
And that's a
taken.
whole, that's a, I feel like that's a whole nother live. We can't even go into Islam today. But you gotta think about the fact that this is something that has affected Black people everywhere. And
Everywhere,
so
all over
when
the
we
world.
are, and I'm
Correct.
happy to see this kind of like awakening, but I'm also scared because I'm like, I don't want to go backwards. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Exactly.
don't want
Exactly.
to have to, I don't want to have to do what the people who fought to get back into these traditions already did. So I really want new people who are coming in to work at decolonizing so that we can push this thing further ahead instead of
Further
having to
ahead.
loop back to things that we already. What do I mean by decolonize? There's something that I cannot stand that people do.
Hmm.
And it is when they say, oh, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, African based religion, it's all the same. We all worship the same God,
No, it's
blah, blah,
not.
blah, blah, blah. Our worldview, our understanding of phenomenology, go look that word up, phenomenology. Our cosmology and our paradigm is different. Our starting point is different. Think about it like your spine. If you have a vertebrae that's
Hmm.
1 millimeter to the right, it's going to throw your spine in a totally different direction.
That's
And
right.
so the nucleus of our worldview is different from Abrahamic religions. And I want people to find what that nucleus is and
That's
start from there and decolonize it. So let me give you an example. A lot of people come into the tradition and they just want to exchange the name of Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever you want to call it for Olodumare, and then change the names of the angels to the Orishas and change, you know what I'm saying? And Orisha is not an angel.
it's not. It's not.
They are not angels. It's a totally different concept. We're talking about a cosmic being that we believe is sent to support your Ori in achieving its destiny. That is not what angels do. When we're talking about Olodumare and the way that we conceptualize the creator God, we are talking about a deity that is so different from the Judeo-Christian deity. Because what does our cosmology say? It says that when we as spirit approach Olodumare before we come to this earth and say, hey, this is what I want to do, Olodumare says, okay, go do it.
So be it.
And he or she will say, it doesn't matter if you say, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a mother, I want to be a farmer, I want to be a criminal. Olodumare doesn't say no.
I want to be a drunk. I want to be a
I want to be
rapist.
a
I want to be
drunk.
whatever. It's
Exactly.
everything. It's everything.
It's everything. Yes,
It's,
brother. And
people,
that's what
people
I
don't,
want
people
people.
don't want to hear that part, which is why it is not it's hard to understand why people are the way they are. If they become lawyers and doctors, we praise them. But if they become murderers, rapists, wife beaters, this and that, and what have you, they don't understand why is it that God, why? Because your understanding of God
It's different from ours.
is much different.
That's right.
It's much
And
different
that's a part
because
of what
you
I,
choose your path,
yes.
the
And
good and
that's
the
a part
bad.
of what I mean by decolonize your thinking. Do not come
That's it.
into these traditions with your same concept of good and evil and God and angels and the devil and just change names. Because this thing is deeper than changing names. It's
That's it.
deeper than changing names. You're going to have to rearrange the way you conceive and conceptualize reality.
Because even when coming into our tradition, see one thing I again, and I have to make it very clear so nobody gets offended. And if you are, that's really on you, not on me, because I'm
We
not
don't,
trying to
because
offend
what we
anybody.
don't care.
And I don't care, to be honest with you. I know, I know. I'm just trying to be politically correct, But this is the thing. This is the thing. When Yoruba tradition, way of life, and Lukumi as well, even though it has not been, and I say this, I don't care how many Cubans get mad, it has not been properly instilled. But the Yoruba way of life, communing with the Orisha energetically and spiritually, is a symbiotic relationship
Yes.
in which there's a sacrifice that needs to happen. I'm talking about, sacrifice emotionally, mentally,
Yes. Yes.
sacrifice, right?
Yes.
Whereas in the Abrahamic, the Christian, the church, I mean, you're not really held accountable at times for the things that you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
for reverence, to connect, to be able to live a life that's representative of the ancestors, that's able to mirror the image of the ancestors in a way so that
That's
you
it.
can
That's
better,
so key. That is so key.
mirror the life of the ancestor. And let me specify what ancestor is. In my experience, and maybe you can elaborate a little more, or maybe disagree with me, I don't know. But the ancestors, when I like to call ancestors, I'm talking about the ancestors that you and I never met. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily talking about the ancestor based on my grandmother who just passed away 5 years ago. No, I'm not talking about that one, even though she
The
is an
deep,
ancestor. But I'm
deep
talking
answer.
about the beginning of time. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the original ones. I'm talking about the one, five,
The
six, seven,
ancient
eight
ones.
hundred, nine,
The
3,000 years
ancient
ago.
ones. The ancient
Exactly, the
ones.
ancient one. These are the ancestors that we want to mirror. These are
I
the
agree.
ancestors that we're trying to represent. These are
I
the
agree.
ancestors that we're trying to educate our offerings to
I agree.
be better than us,
I agree.
along the way,
I
and that
agree.
is the sacrifice of being an Oloricha, of being an
I agree.
Omoricha, of being
I
a
agree.
Yoruba priest or priestess. That is the
Yes.
sacrifice. That
I
is the
agree.
sacrifice. But,
And
if you made a point 2 minutes ago that I want to quickly elaborate on, because, that's precisely what I feel that this particular project that Beyonce did represents. And
mm,
being able to give the young Black kids and Black girls, okay, the Black boys and the Black girls, an idea, a push,
a vision.
reawaken the drive, a vision, a hope, and instill a level of faith that they can
Yes.
be somebody big, that they are
Yes.
someone big, that they do
Yes.
have big possibilities.
Yes.
If Beyonce, and listen, everyone, if Beyonce is or is not part of the Illuminati, I don't know, and I wasn't there, and I cannot attest to it. If Beyonce is part of some kind of satanic cult or something of Hollywood, which I don't, I'm not denying the fact that Hollywood has a history and Hollywood has
Yeah.
associations with certain things, but that's not what is of discussion. And I believe that the interpretation of the horns into satanic image has been misinterpreted with the whole Hollywood life and Hollywood affiliations and what have you, that has nothing to do with the message that's depicted in Black is
Is
King.
king. I hear you. Yeah.
It's
And there
not.
was, and then, in terms of like um the ancestors and decolonizing, like one thing you were saying about the ancient ones and mirroring their values and mirroring their principles, right? My thing is that let's look, for example, at the concept of iwakwele,
Mm-hmm. Wapale.
like people throw this concept around in our traditions like all the time. They throw it
They don't
around
walk by
willy-nilly.
it though.
Right. But they also don't even concept, they don't know what it means. Like they think that iwakwele means being good, right? Because the translation people say is good character.
Mm-hmm.
Iwakwele is not good character. It is gentle and balanced character. This is what
Ashe.
I mean by decolonize your thinking.
Ashe. I'm glad. Oh my God, I'm glad you spoke about that.
Let us decolonize our thinking and step away from good and bad, good and evil, light and dark. When we say good and balanced tradition, character, we are talking about knowing innately, growing to innately understand what it means to apply right action at the right time
Huh.
in the right context.
Ashe.
So people always like to talk like you my fire brother, right? People are always like, oh, Shango, calm down. Oh, you you gotta calm that fire down. Oh, you gotta calm down. They tell me the same shit. Oh, you gotta calm down. Oh, you gotta bring that fire down. Oh, da, da. If there was no place for fire, would it exist?
No.
It would not exist. So the fact of the matter is, there is a time and a place to light shit up.
That is what transformation is about.
That's right. And if you do not light shit up when it's time to light shit up, you are not practicing Iwakwele.
That's true. That's true.
It is right action at the right time, at the right context that means Iwakwele.
There's a place and time for everything.
Everything.
There's a time and place to be peaceful. There's a time and place to be fiery. There's a time and place to destroy. There's a time and place to fight. There's a time and place for death. There's a time and place for everything.
That's right. So this is what I mean by decolonize your thinking. You cannot come into these traditions with these ideas, these foreign ideas, because we have our own concepts. We have our own paradigm. We have our own way of seeing things. We have our own measures. We have our own standards that do not fit always. There's not always a direct one-to-one correlation with concepts in Western traditions, such as Iwakwele. So let me give you an example for people who might be having a hard time understanding what I'm saying. If there is a war going on and you are to my right? And we are on the battlefield. We are on the battlefield. This is not the time for me to get up and try to walk across the battlefield and have a cool conversation with people who are shooting at me.
Agape love.
That's not the time and the place. It ain't the time and the place. By the same token, when someone who you love has made an error and has mistakenly harmed you, that is not the time to burn their house down. That is what we mean by Iwakwele. Gentle and balanced character. It is not the same as being good and not being bad. Afimaye, you're probably better at Odu than I am, but there's this apatakin that one of my friends told me, and I'm going to repeat it, and I'm hoping that you can tell me which Odu it is. But it was an apatakin about a boy whose destiny, when he was born, they did the esentaye, which is when they do the planting of the baby's feet on the oponifa. And they did his first reading. And in the reading, it said he was going to be a murderer.
Actually, that's more Ifa. That's Ifa. That's Ifa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Ifa. I've heard it. I know it, and I've heard it, but I've heard it more in Ifa, and I don't remember the actual.
Well, maybe we can search and find it together, but I'm going to tell the story just so people understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So this baby received his naming ceremony, his esentaye. He came into the world. It said his destiny was supposed to be a killer. His parents were like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" And the Babalawo said, "Make this ebo, do this ebo, so ebo is sacrifice. Do this sacrifice, do this offering." They said, "Okay." The boy was a beautiful boy. He was a sweet boy. At age 7, they went and consulted Ifa again. The same thing came up. This boy is going to be a killer. Oh my God, we're so worried. What's going to happen? What do we do? The Babalawo said, do this ebo, do this sacrifice, do this whatever. Okay, they did it. At 14, same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
The parents are freaking out. They're like, what the hell? And the Babalawo just keeps telling them, do the sacrifice. Sweet, kind, loving, dutiful boy. At 21, his parents are farmers. He used to follow his father to the field to farm every day. And so he was going with his father to the farm one day, and he forgot something. So he turned around and went back to the house where his mother was being attacked by a thief. He fought the thief and he killed the thief. And therefore, he fulfilled his destiny of being a killer.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what it means to practice balanced and gentle character. It doesn't say thou shalt not kill. It doesn't say killing is bad. It says gentle and balanced character at the right time, in the right place, at the right context. This is what I mean when I say you have to decolonize your thinking. You cannot bring into our traditions these ways of thinking that don't jive with the African worldview, because it is not the same.
No, it's not. It's not. In any way, shape, or form. It's not the same. And let me clarify this. Here we have Dr. Nzinga, who's an anthropologist, but also a Yoruba priest, daughter of Oya, priestess of Oya. I am Afro-Cuban, ordained in Cuba to the energy of Shango. I made it comment a little while ago, and I would say without no shame, the fact that the Yoruba lifestyle culture is not entirely mirrored in the Afro-Cuban community. But what I will say is this: both in Yoruba land and the way of Yoruba life from back in the day as to how our ancestors left it implanted, and how the ancestors and the Africans that arrived to Cuba left it implanted. It's not how we are coming into these traditions in any way, shape, or form in this day and age. It is
It's
not.
not. It's not.
It is not. It is not. We're coming into ATRs with gimme, gimme, gimme. I need, I want, I want. It's a self-serving type of approach.
And it is also let's be real, brother, it is also a capitalist approach.
A capitalist, yes, most definitely.
It is a capitalist venture, and it is a commodification, and it is an exchange of goods for services that our thing has become. And it's not just in Afro-Cuba.
That's my
It's
thing.
not just in Lukumi. It's on our side too.
That's good to know, because my experience is on this side, but it's good to know.
It's on our side too.
It's good to know, because this is the thing. That's a keyword. It's a capitalist. It's more at the goods and services. It's not Orisha tradition, Yoruba tradition. When I say Orisha, to make the distinction, but it's all the same thing. It's just
no, it is
whatever.
It
anyway,
is.
It's not goods and services. It's not like going to Macy's and buying something. If you don't like how it fit, you go and return it. It is not, and that is the same way that people are approaching ATR traditions.
And let's talk about this, Afimaye. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how hard this walk is. While everybody's out here thinking this shit is going to be a walk in the park, let's talk about how Shango drags your ass when you don't do what you're supposed to do, and how Oya drags my ass when I don't do what I'm supposed to do, and how I have to sacrifice.
And when we say drag, I see some of my godchildren on here, and I don't have no shame in really saying, and they're here as my witness, that when she's saying drag, we're talking about when I told you that you were supposed to do this and fulfill that. What's the consequence of that? You lose your home, you lose everything you have, you lose your stability, you lose your job, you lose everything. Because I've lived through it.
Then let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact that that's not punishment.
It's not.
That is choices and consequences. Because we don't believe that the Orisha punish us.
Choices and consequences that come at the root of not having Iwapale under the understanding of what you explained. Balance.
Exactly. I have to sacrifice. I have had to sacrifice so much to be a daughter of Oya for 21 years.
I know this is going to be another live, which we will not do tonight, because I'm not going to drag you here for 3 hours. But let me tell you, this is a conversation in itself. What conversation am I referring to? The humanizing the Orisha.
Yeah.
humanizing the
Ooh,
Orisha,
yes.
because the idea of humanizing the Orisha gives you the false thought and mentality that you think that you
Come
are
on, brother.
entitled, that you are entitled to certain things based on how much you pay, what you give, what you do.
Yes.
It's not entitlement, and you're
No,
not entitled to anything. You
no.
had already chosen the destiny that you're supposed to fulfill on this earth. And the only thing the ancestors, the only thing that Orisha can do is protect you for what's beyond your control, for what's
That's right.
beyond your
That's
control,
right.
as long as you stay within your line, as
That's
long as
right.
you stay in your lane, as long as you abide, as long as you do what you're meant to do, what you're
And they
told to do, what you are advised to do.
facilitate your fulfilling your destiny, and they hold you, so that you can fulfill your destiny. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
But when I
Exactly.
tell you I had to sacrifice, I know that a part of my name, my birth name is Nzinga. That is the name that my father gave me.
Just like my birth
Nzinga
name's
was a
Akamaya.
that was a warrior queen's name. He gave me that name because that is a part of my walk. That is who I am, which means I don't get to be hot girl summer. I don't get to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of things that I don't get to be in the club. Oh, y'all was like, listen, if you want me to jack people up in the club, keep going to the club. Because there's a lot of stuff in there that she don't like. And I had to learn that the hard way. And she was like, if you don't want me to deal with what I see, don't take me in there in your head.
Ah, thank you for that. Why? Because people who pay, I detest that word, who pay for their ocha, they think that they are entitled, right? So they fail to understand that what the ceremony that you have done in your on your body, and I'm not going to get into specifics because you know how traditional I am, and I don't like to speak
And
about
I
certain
fully
things.
agree with you on that.
But you know, wherever the ceremony gets done, and you know, and I know where it gets done,
Right.
wherever we go, that energy, that essence, that vibration goes with
It
us
goes with
everywhere.
us. Yes.
You don't leave that
Yes.
vibration at home.
No.
You don't leave that vibration home so you can go, you know, and let me stop. You know what I mean. So you can do what you want to do. You don't leave
Yes.
it home. You
Yes.
know, it goes with you everywhere. So when you're
Yes.
told that, hey, you're not supposed to be going to the bar anymore, every day. Hey, you're not supposed to be going to this person's house. Hey, I don't want. How about when Orisha tells a person, I know you've been married for 20 years, and I know that this is the person that you think you're in love with, but I don't want this person in your life anymore. How
Come
about that?
on. Come on.
How about that?
Let's talk about Orisha
How,
dating, because they will snatch somebody
how
up
about
out
that?
of your bed.
How about that? So therefore, people that come with an energy of an entitlement do not know what sacrifice
They
is.
don't
And
know.
people that come with that, because I pay for this, means that you're going to get everything that you want.
No.
No, honey, this is not a Christmas slip where Santa Claus
No.
comes. Santa Claus don't even give you because Santa Claus don't even exist. So what
No.
makes you think that just because you paid for a ceremony or you paid for something, you're supposed to get everything that you want, to get the boyfriend that you want or the husband that you
Yeah,
want? Or
and they think
no,
that Orisha are genies in a bottle. They are not. You don't just go rub the pot and you get 3 wishes every week. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Yes, sis, eating clouds. I done had some, what I thought was some good loving snatched up out of my bed by Orisha. Them brothers just be disappearing.
you got
Okay?
that right.
If y'all
You got
don't
that
want
right.
them around me, they be gone.
They got that right. And we're only
But
talking
it's a
about,
lot
and mind
of,
you, we're only talking about Orisha.
yes,
But let me tell you, it's no different from, working with Egun. It's no
yes.
different than working with, ancestors in the different aspects of working with ancestors. It's no different in Palomayombe because,
They'll snatch somebody
Egun
out your
shows
life
up.
too. They will snatch somebody out your
That
life.
was
It's
slash your life up.
sacrifice.
You
It's
know,
hard
I
work.
remember, and I can say this out loud because it's a story, it's my history, and there's no shame in my experience. I remember this is about 15, 18, maybe 19 years ago. I was in a situation, or let's call it by name. I was getting to know somebody. And I was actually in a place, I had already gone out with this person 2 or 3 times, and she was very nice, very intelligent, very X, Y, and Z, whatever she was. And I remember vividly, Egun, right, ancestor, spirit, literally standing in my ear, and in their language, which I understand, but
Yeah.
for translation purposes, basically saying, "Get the fuck out."
I know that's right. Been there.
And I'm like,
Been there.
"What the hell
I've been there.
is this?" I'm at the moment, mind you, I'm very young. When you're young and you're feeling that groove and you're feeling that. I'm like, I'm a,
But I like
I'm like,
her. And I
I'm a,
like him.
I'm about to crown on here over here. I'm about to get
Yeah.
lucky over here tonight, and
She said entanglement. Gypsy loves it.
I'm about to get lucky here
Entanglement.
tonight, and everyone's saying, "Get the fuck out." And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? But since I have always, my whole entire life, and those that know me for many years, and I have some in here, especially my godchildren, knows how I am. I can be whatever the hell I want. But when one thing, I can be whatever I want, the hell I want to be as a man. But the one thing I have always been, thanks to my mama, because this was none of my own, this is thanks to my mother, I have always been religious before I'm a man. That's
How
the
about
one
that?
thing. That's the one thing I am able to, with honor, say. I have always been first religious than being a man.
Yeah.
And since I'm obedient in that particular sense, I'm like, ooh, Jesus
I
Christ.
gotta go. You're like, damn,
and I'm like, and I'm
damn,
like,
damn,
and I'm like,
damn.
I'm like, you know what? I gotta go. To be honest with you, I don't even know what story I invented. I have no idea what story I came up with.
Oh my God.
And the part of the matter is that I walked out the door. Let me tell you something. Long story short, because our life is about to finish in a couple of minutes. As soon as I walked out that door, there was this man coming that had just I had literally I was already in my car. And I was already in my car, I was sitting in my car, but I didn't just get in my car and drive off. That's why I was able to see. Like Egun saying, wait, I'm gonna disturb your night. I'm gonna disturb your heart on, whatever the hell you had going on.
Right,
I'm
whatever
going
you
to
got.
disturb it. But I'm gonna even allow you to see why I disturb it. So I'm sitting in my car, okay. I guess I was trying to because I was in a complete different area. So I was trying to put, my GPS to get back to where I was going, blah, blah, blah. And this car approaches, parks, and gets off in the person in this woman's driveway. I had no idea, long story short, I had no idea that she was married. I had no idea that this person was her husband, that even though they were not, I guess, living together at that particular moment, this was her man, who was kind of cuckoo, who was kind of crazy, who was actually somebody that was in the military and had his issues,
Oh my
and
God.
had this issue of her always, whatever doing, anyway, long story short, Egun saved me from having God knows what, because you never know what Egun was
He was
saving you
gonna
from.
do
It could have been a
exactly.
confrontation. I'm not saying that I would have been the one, killed, but I would have been the one probably killing and would have been in jail to this day, and you and I would have never been having this
That's
conversation
right.
right now. No one knows what could have happened.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
is sacrifice. That is obedience. That
Sacrifice.
is a
It's sacrifice. Let me tell you, when I did my initiation in 1999 in Abeokuta, they told me, and I went
la
back and read my
puta.
ita. They said, you are going to bring fame and importance to the tradition. And you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to go through this path and do this school path. And I was like, oh, whatever. I was 27, whatever. And so I finally got into school, and the amount of focus, the amount of, just missing out on things that I had to go through, the amount of, just studying, the amount of sitting with my Orisha, the amount of praying, the amount of all of this stuff that I had to do to get to where I was going, was a huge sacrifice. But let me tell you something. I tell my students this now. Until Corona, I got passport stamps. You hear me? I am out of the country every single year. And this is not something that I envisioned for myself when I was sitting on the mat in 1999. I didn't know that that's how the sacrifice was going to pay off. I had quote unquote friends who were making fun of me. Oh, you still in school? You're still in school? You're still working on that degree? There was a point I was living in Philadelphia making $12,000 a year. Living in Philadelphia off of $12,000 a year because they said, this is what you have to do. And I thought to myself, what the hell? I am never going to make it. And now
Sacrifice.
I'm in Cuba in the summer. I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Sierra Leone. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Ashe. Ashe. Modukpe. It paid
Sacrifice.
off
It paid
because you
off.
sacrifice yourself, and you sacrifice yourself without, retaliating, without not retaliating, but without questioning, and why do I have to do that? And there might have been weekdays, there
There
might
was
have been moments,
questioning. There was
of
questioning
course,
because it
of
was
course,
hard. But it wasn't like anger or bitterness. I was just like,
exactly,
well, I'm just gonna do what I gotta
exactly,
do. We'll see.
exactly. So, beloveds, as we almost, gonna get caught off here, it hasn't shown up yet, but I know we're gonna, because already 8:01, so I know we're gonna get caught off soon. Please know, warriors, Beyonce was not representing anything demonic. We again, to make it very black and white clear, I cannot attest to what she belongs to, does, doesn't do, believes in, practices. I cannot attest to any of that. What I want to illustrate and bring into our awareness, which is why I invited Dr. Nzinga here tonight, is that what she portrayed in this particular musical live movie that she did was not representative of Satan, and no, it was not. And if you do the history, if you do the research, if you read, if you inform yourself, if you see the beginnings of where, because Dr. Nzinga did an awesome job in illustrating and giving us a timeline, you would know that whatever you might have thought was representative of demonic energy is not for the purposes of this particular Black is King. This is more, and Black is King did not mean in any way, shape, or form that Black is King is superior over God or over the Creator.
Right.
It was not stated that. That's not what was depicted in there. What was depicted was happiness, joy, different traditions, different practices, different aspects of African culture. That's what was seen in Black is King. Nothing else
Yes.
and nothing less. For
Yeah.
us to try to demonize it only equates to being still under some form of mental control, under some form of mental mind-washed effect that is not allowing you to broaden your awareness. Do the
Yeah.
research, beloveds. Do the
Absolutely.
research. Do the
So there's
research.
people asking for my handles. So can I just give them Afima real
Of
quick?
course, of course, of
Okay.
course.
So if
Please,
you wanna,
please, everybody, please
you can
follow.
follow me on Dunia Fore, where you can see my nonprofit work on Instagram. And if you want to friend me, please send a friend request on Facebook to Dr. Nzinga's Musings. Musing, like, you know how you muse or something? So Dr. Nzinga's Musing. That's my public Facebook page if you want to follow me and see what I'm up to. You can also friend me at Dunia Fore. But Afimaye and I are friends, and so whenever we get a hair up our ass and we feel like coming on here and going crazy again, we'll come on here and go crazy. I'm really
Most
glad. Thank
definitely.
you so much for
This won't
having
be
me.
this won't be the last time. Actually, type that in there so I can pin it. Type it in there. Your information and Facebook page and the whole 9 yards. This won't be the last time that we do this. I'm gonna definitely invite Dr. Nzinga back on too, because this is just so extensive topics that one can go on for hours and hours and hours speaking about it, because it's not something that you can cover in 1 hour. Hence, we've been on here almost 2 hours. So therefore, needless to say, I'm going to definitely have her back. I am more than humbled and honored that she accepted to come here and have this very, very important discussion that was very much needed. And I hope that we learned something tonight here. I hope that we were able, to be able to open up our mind so that we are able to understand better. Knowledge is power. Knowledge
Yeah.
is power. And unless
Yeah.
we have the knowledge, we can break free. How about that?
Yeah.
Unless we
And
have the knowledge.
I just also want to say to people, you know, I know there's a lot of disunity in the Orisha community and there's a lot of beefing and a lot of riffing and whatever. This is my Lukumi brother. This black man is my brother. I don't care if he got his
Thank you.
initiation in fucking Cuba or wherever the fuck. Okay? Sorry for the F bombs, but that's what I mean. We are
Thank
the
you.
guardians and the keepers of this tradition, and we have to learn how to support each other regardless of which branch we come from. We need to build bridges, we need to build understanding, we need to build communication, we need to work together to preserve our traditions, and we need to promote unity.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Modupwe, Modupwe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Glad you guys liked
Thank
it.
you. This was Shango spit in the fire. Oh yeah.
Right, right. Just whipping it up. It's gonna be crazy every time because you can't put us in the same room and have
and of course we have to leave off, my friends. We have to leave off with this, Yoruba style song for you.
Ashe.
Yoruba style to you. Thank you so much for being on here.
Love you. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. Wonderful. Much blessings to you, Nzinga. Much blessings to you.
See you later.
Thank you. I hope you all like that. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you missed the first live, go watch it, because that was also extremely informative and a true historical account of events that we must all know and understand in order to be able to have an opinion. Many blessings to all of you. I love you all. Ashe Mandu Pueblo.